Nick kind of just dodges and ducks us, but he's still like he still sits there on this high horse of his where he can only podcast at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock at night. Like he doesn't take our availability into any
That's
kind of consideration, does he? I mean, I'm not wrong here, am I?
that's why we go without him.
I mean, it is. I got Brian from Rhode Island. He's a high powered banker, right? So I mean, he does what he does, and he needs the time. Nick, dad, he's just a dad. He's just being a dad. I'm a dad. You're a dad.
Just tie the kids to a leash and put them outside. They'll be fine.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's nothing wrong. Free the leash, kids, I say. But if they have to be on a leash, send them outside with the puppy, right?
Yeah, there you go.
That's the way it works. That's the way it works. Steve, you want to record a podcast here?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that, man.
What time is it?
It's time for Work at Spursy.
Spursy, you got Mike, you got Steve, you've got the ghost of Brian from Rhode Island, I guess. I don't know. I like to think he's here with us in spirit, but since he's not physically present, then I will ask Mike, how are you doing today?
Look, man, I'm doing friggin' great, Steve. Just great. Had a really I had a really rewarding day at work. You ever have those days where you just work your ass off to the point where you're so exhausted that you don't really want to do anything, but at the same time, you're like, that's actually probably a good thing. It feels like you got shit done.
Mike, I work for a huge corporation. I have never felt that before in my life.
Well, in fact, I do too. I work for the University of Vermont Health Network,
Yeah, but at least
now
you're
it's
doing
University of
something
Vermont
to
Health.
help the community. I'm doing
I do
something
have
to
I
help
do have a
stakeholders.
there is a community help aspect to what I do. I also support our members through our union and all that stuff. But it was just a really, really rewarding day, quote unquote, saving lives. I
Somebody's
just
gotta
feel
do
like
it.
it's a day to love what you do. The weather's starting to turn into fall. It was really, really chilly on Saturday. Went out and picked some apples. Apple picking is one of my favorite activities in the fall, Steve.
I'm
Uh,
with you there. Absolutely love it.
They were unfortunately, due to the lack of rain and stuff this year, they seemed really small. There were a lot of apples. They were just really, really small. So we had to really go through and pick and choose. What like if you were to go for a specific apple, what is your apple that you get?
Oh, that's a good question. We got not really for choice. It's just what they had available when we went was just Macintosh.
Mhm.
But I'm partial to the Pink Ladies.
You like the pink ladies?
I do.
I like the Macintosh. If I'm eating an apple, the Macintosh is the way to go for me. It's just the tartness, the crispness, but they tend to go soft a little quicker.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have to get the Macoun, which is a hybrid of the Macintosh. Um, but if I'm going to do pies, you got to go the Cortland because the Cortland, they hold up, they stay nice and firm when you cook them. They're great. But I like the
will
Max. I
say-
like the Max for applesauce and for
Yes.
apple crisp and for eating apples with
Oh
some
my
peanut
god,
butter.
a nice apple crisp with like a maple oat kind of top. Oh, so good. That
Yeah.
is quintessential Vermont fall.
Yeah. Welcome to Vermont.
Welcome to Vermont. You know
Maybe a
what?
little
I've been
dollop
enjoying the weather, too.
of vanilla ice cream on top.
Ooh, yeah.
Mhm.
They call that a la mode.
Oh yeah. Speaking of
But-
modes, We've been in soccer mode lately in Tottenham.
We have been. It has been interesting. And I say interesting for a couple of reasons. First is I'm finding myself kind of caught between, what we knew under Ange with Ange Ball and what we're seeing with Thomas Frank here. And this is a positive towards Frank. I like take Brighton, for example, right? 2 goals down. And I got caught in the mindset of doom and gloom. This is, Ange Ball all over again. We're doomed. But we did see the fight back. We did see, some effort go out there. We clawed back, got the draw, which I felt honestly was probably not deserved, given the mistakes that were made and the lack of real, cohesion to start. But in this league, it's not so much how you start games and how you run away and get those 5-0 victories throughout the season. It can be when you're having a terrible day and you still manage to get some kind of a result. And what really sold me on that there was a Reddit post that I saw after the fact. Somebody on Reddit, who I'll have to look it up and next time I'll give proper attribution, but he does these season by season comparison charts where he takes, the result from last season up against the result from this season. And, you can see whether or not you gained or lost points relative to the, same fixture. And it looks like, five matches into the season, into the league, we are plus 5 points better off than we were last season, which is, for the same fixtures, and the the promoted sides, it just, he picks one of the, sides that went down to compare that to. So grain of salt with that, but still, I mean, plus 5 points over what we saw last season is nice. It's a good spot to be in, considering we've, won a few games here and only lost the one so far. I'll take it. Mike, you're muted. You are muted. You have no voice.
Mother of God. Here we
Can't
go.
help you here.
I was just talking about how I had a great day at work. So yeah, I really kind of agree with that. I did the instant reaction after the little 5-minute instant reaction after the Villarreal game, which consequently was our first Champions League game in nearly 3 years.
A win, by the way, for those of you who might have missed it.
Which was a win, yeah. And it wasn't the most pleasant game. We don't have to talk a lot about it. It was a 1-0. It was a 1-0 victory. Any victory is a victory, no matter what it looks like. You get the 3 points. You get the fuck out of there, right? And it, on the rewatch, after I did the instant reaction on the rewatch, yes, it's true. I kind of hated every minute of it. It was not a fun game to watch. It was not it was not tactically sound. It was pretty mostly defensively sound. Villarreal didn't have a lot of attack in them. I mean, they're not necessarily a full-on attack team. They seem to be in general a counter-attacking team. But I think that when we're kind of measuring ourselves in Champions League versus the league, you have to there's some things you gotta take into account, right? You have to take into account squad rotation, who has played the most minutes already going into it. You have to take into account the styles of play that you're going up against, the leagues that you're going up against. Obviously La Liga is not necessarily as physical as strong of a league as say the Premier League is. They don't. You would think that they would play a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, but this is not the Madrids, the Real Madrids, and the Barcelonas of the 90s and 2000s, right? Like
It's
you're
more of a
not
fishing league, fishing for fouls.
fishing for fouls because there was a lot of diving going on. That's very, very true.
A lot of diving, a lot of soft. Oh, he touched me. Oh, I've been shot. Like no, it's that stuff. Even when I remember we were chatting about it as well with Richarlison's tendency to go down maybe a little bit too easily and how it's frustrating. So it's not just the opposition is trying to draw all these fouls. I don't like it when we do it either. It's to me, it's such a negative aspect of the game. If you get hit, you get hit. But I get it. You have to go down. Some of those challenges can really, really hurt. But if somebody just brushes your shoulder and you're falling to the ground, writhing in pain, grow up. Like that is just such a childish fucking mentality. Oh, he touched me. No. Mm-mm.
So yeah, I mean, getting back to that. No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. So getting back to what I was kind of getting at was like when you measure those two games against each other, that you have to take all those things into consideration. So we get back into the league, right? And Xavi's got to take a seat on the bench to start the game, right? And so you end up with the midfield of Paulinho, Bentancur, and Bergvall, which is not necessarily the most creative of midfield three. Now, I understand where a lot of fans are coming from right now. Watching it, having watched it live and then watched again on replay that night, it's I think that Tottenham's second half was maybe the best we've looked all season. I think that's
in the Brighton game.
Yeah, in the Brighton game.
Yeah,
I think that's in part due to what the switch that was made. That what you rightly pointed out in the chat too, which was like, this is kind of okay. This is kind of a weird substitution, right? When you're substituting Xavi for Bentancur, right? And the game was kind of calling out for it at that point. We needed something creative. We needed a number 10 who could be creative. That not that Bergvall wasn't doing some of the things, but he wasn't really being effective. His ball carrying wasn't great at times. He would try and do too much at times and lose the ball. He lost the ball that directly led to a goal, right? So,
yep.
He's an 18-year-old. He's trying really, really hard. I mean, Xavi's also young, but he's, I still say what a player we've got on our hands here with that kid. And he's going to continue to develop. And I think that he's going to fly under somebody like Thomas Frank. So, I think the game flipped on its head when Xavi came in. And it's kind of nice to see like some of the things, like 30 minutes he played, right? So like some of the things you saw out of him, you saw a little bit of that, like that razzle dazzle, that kind of that sparkle, like you could see the way that like that first shot that he had on goal that was just a little bit wide, right? Like you saw him smile because he knew he was going to get something over on somebody at some point. I can't stress enough how important he's going to be going ahead, especially when we have Madison will be coming back, late season. We're gonna be getting some players back. We're gonna need some creative players there to do what needs to be done to score goals for us, and we will be opening up that box. Something that, Brian and I were actually chatting about today on text, was that he said, he wasn't able to be here today, obviously.
In
He's
spirit,
burning the
though.
candle at both ends right now. But he said he was able to watch Spurs on Saturday. And he said, number one, that dude was offside.
I thought so too. The freeze frame that they showed, in my opinion, was before the ball was played. It was like, maybe a second or a half a second before the ball was actually played, and that cost everything. I really wish they would have shown like the wider field and just cut it down some more. To me, that was incorrect. But maybe they saw something different in the VAR room. They didn't share that particular view. They just showed, oh, he's onside. But I personally did not think that was accurate. As when they did the replay and I saw when the pass was made, to me it was like, oh, that's obviously offside.
Right.
But I mean, it's fine margins, sometimes they work in your benefit, sometimes they don't. In this case, we didn't get the benefit of the doubt. But it'll, as long as it doesn't come back to bite us, like a similar situation, and we don't get the call. To me, it's the consistency that bothers me more than anything else, right? Like whether it's a call for or against us, my biggest issue right now, early season, is that it's just so incredibly inconsistent across the league. It's a toss up, really, depending on who's on VAR, who's on the field, whether or not something actually counts. And I don't think that's a way that the game should be played. There should be something a lot more decisive. And honestly, I would be fine with a little bit more leniency, in the sense that, if it's close, ruling goes to the field and we don't bother with VAR, but in my mind, it should be for clear and obvious errors, right? And so in the case of the offside goal, if it was not clear and obvious, which, given how tight it was, it wasn't clear and obvious, right? Like the freeze frame showed that he was barely in line, or at least the one they used, they showed he was barely in line. I would have rather they had just said, you know what, it's too close to call, ruling on the field stands. Done. As soon as you're guessing, like, okay, well, is the red on his sleeve like a pixel over? Because, people are going to say, well, onside is onside. That is, that's a fact. You either are or you're not. There's nothing that's subjective about it. But at the same time, if you're drawing pictures and looking for like pixels, that to me is it's too much, because
You're working too hard at it.
Right? Like if you're one frame off, that's the difference. And who's going to make that decision? So I would rather they just say, you know what, too close to call, let's give the advantage, or let's let the ruling on the field stand. But they don't. It does feel, and I think a lot of fans will agree with this, it does feel like at times VAR is looking for a reason to take the fun away.
Well, I mean, and it does take the fun away, right? Like every goal scored has to be looked at, right? Whether it like is a quick look, whether it is a possible foul, whether it's a possible offside, and it does take the fun away from the celebration. We saw it in the NFL last night. A few times, once with my Washington Commanders, like they have 3 more downs to score, right? But like they sat there for like 5 minutes and tried to decide whether the ball was over or not, inside of a scrum of like 11 dudes, right? 12 dudes who were in a pile, like, and you're trying to pick out where the ball is in a running back's hand, or whether his knee is down, and all this shit. And it happens in the NFL too. So it does take time away from the game, but the running clock in soccer is what makes it different, right? Versus American football, where the clock stops after every play, or well, sometimes continues to run depending on the situation. But like when you're checking possible scoring plays, I can understand that you have to take your time and make sure you get it right. But like you said, at the same time, if you're looking at pixels, I mean, that's what the semi-automated offside is for, right? It's supposed to tell these ARs that you might want to put the flag up,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what it's supposed to do. And it just doesn't seem to be working, or it is working and you still have that human element in it where they're either ignoring it or they're waiting for it to be used on the back end, right?
Yeah. In my
Because they don't
mind,
want to be the ones who are going to be on somebody's fucking social media later on in the week.
yeah, in my mind, if it takes you more than 30 seconds in the VAR room to decide whether or not something was done in error, it's not clear and obvious, and you should just ruling on the field stands, move on. Because the referees there, they all seem to like not want to contradict one another anyway. So if you give them an out and say if it's not obvious in 30 seconds, just move on, great. If it's not obvious in 15 seconds, whatever the time frame might be, but it's when it's taking them, 3, 4, 5 minutes to figure out, what's going on. And God forbid it's a sequence that has multiple checks, right? Was there a foul here? And then was there a push here? And then I'm just sort of the way that it's set up. It does feel like it is set up deliberately to fail. And it could be such a useful tool, right? It really could.
Yeah.
It's just not being utilized in a way. And, in this case, while I personally think that the decision was wrong, it wasn't based on the freeze frame that they showed. It wasn't clear and obvious, and the ruling on the field should have stood, and it would have been a
It
goal
wasn't
anyway.
completely egregious.
It wasn't like the Mickey Van de Ven push from, last week.
From the week before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which in my mind was clear and obvious, and VAR still fucked it up. But, and that's what I mean about the consistency, right? Like in some cases, they look at it and they try to make it work and they try to get it right. And then in some cases, they try to make it work. And then they just give up and say, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to take the ruling on the field, even if it's wrong.
Sometimes it's the right call. So the other thing that Brian brought up is, and I think it's a fair point. Why does this feel completely different than an Ange come from behind, either victory or draw? So I think there's a couple of things that happen here. I think it's because we're better than we were last year, and it shouldn't have felt amazing, right? Because we are better. I think the other thing is that we're a very, very good team. Xavi is a fucking revelation. We're so much more organized, compact defensively, winning balls back.
Kudus' dribbling has been fantastic.
Kudus' dribbling. Our set pieces are better. Our throw-ins are better. We're looking at. I have never been a fan of the long throw. But it's even like the short throws are better. We're set up better for success and for retaining possession on that. Our guys aren't hanging their heads the second that they lose the ball, right? Because they're not hanging their heads and having to sprint back at 100 miles per hour. I mean, well, one time in this game, but they're not having to sprint back at 100 miles per hour every single time they lose the ball. They're able to be in a position to win balls back. I love that. There are a couple of things I think where Charleston is fucking terrible, dude. I'm sorry. I've given him the benefit of the doubt a few times. If we want to talk about inconsistency, like we gave him the benefit of the doubt the past couple of seasons because of injuries, right, that have happened, because of the mental health stuff that has happened. But now he's been healthy and the inconsistency is still there. It's like he's a different person from match to match. And it just doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit right with me. It's like the Lo Celso factor, right? It's the same type of thing. It's like when you're injured, you're injured. We get it. But when you're not injured and you're inconsistent, we need a number 9.
I mean,
we can get into who it could be after
for
in the second half.
Richarlison in particular. I think part of the issue is like Frank's got this, he can switch up the midfield to vary up his tactics, right? He can be a little bit more defensive. He can be a little bit more offensive. He can swap out his wingers if he needs something a little bit different. He can tool around with his defense. He hasn't really been able to do anything up front, right? So Richarlison and even Tell isn't like that strong hold up player that we kind of need at a lot of these times, which is why I'm hopeful Solanke comes back really soon. We just don't have that. So in situations where Frank can swap different areas of the field to have an impact, he's not really able to do that at striker. So you do get inconsistencies from Richarlison. When he's on, and we get some fantastic goals, great finishing. It's when we need a different type of forward, and he's not that person, that things start to fall apart. And it's not for lack of trying. I do think he puts the effort in. I think he really wants to be successful in that role, but there are definitely situations where Solanke would be a much better option versus
I think for doing what we want to do in and around the box, we have to have a hold up guy. And
absolutely,
who I'm thinking of.
Are you
somebody who may or may not have a buyback clause?
Oh, I hear you. Okay, you're thinking about Alfie Devine.
That's true. It's very true. Alfie Devine. It's exactly the hold up player I was talking about. Troy Parrott.
Parrott, yeah. No, I do think that once Solanke's back and you can start to rotate those forward options a bit more, I think we can solve that inconsistency struggle real quick, right? Because either they perform in the tasks that they're supposed to perform in, or he doesn't, in which case we still have an option. Because I do think that like Richarlison and Tell are a lot more similar in that regard than like a Richarlison and Solanke or Tell and Solanke. So if he doesn't perform, then you just put Tell in there.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Because Brennan Johnson again hasn't been great. He's been working a little bit better defensively. I can say that he has been coming back. He has been trying a little bit harder on defense. But once you have Kolomuani, right? RKM, I'm going to call him. And Solanke and Tell are all fit. One, do you see Xavi? Do you see him on the left anymore? Because obviously he was really, really fucking good at that number 10. Also, do you see Richarlison and Brennan Johnson again? When you have rotational options, a guy that you picked up a lot of money on in a single season. In a single season loan, like an RKM, or that way he can play up front, he can play on the left, he can play on the right. I mean, because guess what? Our new West Ham man is not going to be able to play every fucking minute of every fucking game like he has been.
Which is why my answer to that question is yes, we would, because we've got Doncaster coming up, and frankly, we shouldn't need Kudus for Doncaster. Put Brennan Johnson on the right, give him his game time. Let him do his thing. Kudus does not need to play versus Doncaster.
I was thinking more like the league, like
in terms of the league. I mean, it all depends on the other competitions too, right? Like we are in Champions League, obviously. That should be a priority competition. We've got the cups, the other cups, Mickey Mouse Cup coming up. So there's plenty of games to go around. There's plenty of, and I do think the competition is healthy. I mean, look at Destiny and Jade Spence over there. There's somebody who performed at a really high level, albeit, at a position on the left there. And then Destiny comes in and he had a phenomenal game against Brighton. He was incredible going forward, in particular. So I do think that you see them, but it won't be game in, game out. It is going to be, okay, you're going to come in for Doncaster as an example. And if you show that you can do some work there, and maybe Kudus needs a break, or somebody else needs a bit of a rest, yeah, I trust you to come in. It's the issue that I think we're going to run into, and I hope we don't, is when you do get a game like Doncaster, and I'm sorry to be picking on Doncaster, it's just the next game we've got coming up, and they're not in the same league. When you've got a game like that, if you have the opportunity to perform and you don't, why would we pick you in a Champions League game? Why would we pick you in the league, right? If you can't perform against lower level opposition, you're kind of screwing yourself there. Because like you said, Kudus, he's not getting dropped. The way he's been performing to start the season, there's absolutely no way anybody is taking over that spot unless he gets injured, unless there's a dip in form. And even then, we have options on the right, especially as we get players like Decky coming back from injury. So if Brennan Johnson wants to see more game time, I imagine he starts versus Doncaster. I think he does, especially because of how frequently Kudus has been playing. Brennan Johnson, in my mind, starts then. He needs to show up. If he shows up and does more than just score goals, I love the goals. I'm glad he's scoring them, but he needs to also contribute elsewhere too. If he does that, then suddenly it's okay. Well, Kudus has played for 60, 70 minutes. Let's take him off and put Brennan on because we trust that he will go on there and do it. But right now, I just get the feeling that because of what he has shown so far, he's not really somebody that Thomas Frank is thinking of as a game changer. And that's entirely on these players to change his mind. I think one of the things that I like most about Thomas Frank is, and he said this, he doesn't have favorites. You play well, you play. You don't play well, you sit on the bench. You really don't play well, you don't see the light of day. So yes, this is a very long-winded way of saying, yes, I do think you still see them, but it's going to be up to them how much, how regularly, and whether or not any of it is impactful, or if he's just going to get everybody just played Champions League and we've got Wolves coming up. So, we'll just throw in bottom of the barrel team and let the studs get a rest.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you do. And
I will say, I do think it's hilarious that we've got Wolves coming up in the league next. And somebody had pointed out, I think I shared it with you guys, that, Wolves haven't won a game yet. Can Thomas Frank really squash the Spursy and actually make it through with a win there?
No such thing as Spursy anymore.
Well, we'll see, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But first, I need to ask, hey, Mike, what you drinking?
You know what, Steve? All these weeks. We haven't done. I haven't been drinking a lot of like beers lately. I've been really into these Sun Cruiser vodka lemonades.
Oh God, the Sun Cruisers are good.
Oh man, the pink lemonade. Woo! If you can find it, the pink lemonade is where it's at. My wife thinks they're too sweet.
Well, this isn't hey Amy, what you drinking? This is hey Mike, what you drinking?
So yeah, that's it. Today I'm just perusing the local beer stores, and I said, you know what I haven't done in a long time? A nice hazy Vermont IPA.
Hazy.
Let's see what I got here. All right. This looks cool. This is Big Tree Brewing. Big Tree's in Waterbury, Vermont.
Huh.
But it was brewed. It's been brewed at Goodwater, the old Goodwater Brewing. Because that's basically where they brew. So this one is called Local.
Business?
What's that?
Didn't they go out of business?
Yeah. This is Big Tree Brewing. So this is called Local Legend. I'm
So
not
it's about
sure.
us.
I'm not sure what it means. It has like a
We're a local legend, aren't we?
yeah, sure. I'm a local legend. I can say that. I'm known as Megaphone Guy.
Megaphone guy. That is true. At Vermont Green Games, he's the guy with the megaphone. That's how I refer him to various people.
The capo of the Vermont Green Mountain Bahoys. And it's really a privilege to kind of to work with all the Bahoys in that section. Like, and we have some big things coming up for next season, but we'll talk about that later.
I
So
like
this is
it's more akin to like being a Bigfoot or something.
it
Just
is a Bigfoot. It is a Bigfoot,
Perfect.
and so we got a Bigfoot on one side. See him right there
yeah, look
on
at
the
that.
bike. There he is. And then on this side where the snow is, yeah, he's on a snowboard. That's the Yeti on a snowboard. So like I said, we haven't done a hazy IPA. I haven't drank a hazy IPA in a while. I tried to drink an IPA the other day and I was like, because it wasn't good. So I poured it out. I poured out an IPA.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And we're pouring this one into a nice glass.
A nice
it
teacup
appears
glass?
to be shaped like a glass that you would drink out of. Just
So yeah,
demonstrating my knowledge to the
hazy
man.
IPAs, Vermont IPAs. They're going to have like a nice creamy mouth feel to them. They're going to be have a nice, beautiful, creamy, soapy head on them.
Yeah, Mike's all about that creamy head.
They're gonna have the pine up front and the citrus finish. They're not going to be see-through. Those are kind of the hallmarks of the Vermont IPA. What really makes a Vermont IPA, and I don't think we've really ever mentioned this, or in the million different IPAs we've done, or Vermont IPAs we've done, the thing that sets Vermont aside is the water. And I think that can be said for a number of places with different kinds of foods, breads, that kind of stuff.
Because of the cyanobacteria.
Yeah, it's the bacteria.
Somebody out there is spitting out their beer like, oh, there's bacteria in this. It's a joke, people. It's a joke.
So yeah, I love Vermont IPAs, and like I said, I think what sets them aside is the fact that it's the mineral content in the water, and the cleanliness and the clarity of the water without having to run it through all kinds of filtration processes, which I'm sure they still do. But the water, like you look at like San Francisco sourdough, right? It's the water that makes it. It's the water that makes the pizza dough in Connecticut, taste the way it does. And sometimes even the beers, they make some good beers
Like
down there. They make Sip of Sunshine is made down there.
Right, I'm fighting words for Connecticut, but I grew up in Jersey, so pizza is it's a contentious subject.
Pizza's kind of a religion in New Jersey, but
Kinda, yeah.
Let's get into this. I'm excited about this.
Please drink it up. Get that creamy head all up in there. There you go. What are we thinking?
It does have that resinous pininess to it. Without getting too fucking nerdy about it. It doesn't have that citrus finish.
You could put an orange in there or something.
I'm not putting fruit in my beer. We've talked about this 100,000 times. I like it. It's a little bit overly fizzy for me. It's fine. It tastes, if I'm being honest, it tastes like good water, beer.
Which, given the look on your face, is not super impressive.
I've said a million times that their Kolsch style is probably one of the best Kolsches outside of Cologne, Germany. that I've had, and I think it's severely underrated. But to each their own. I'm only here to tell people what I think of the beer that I'm drinking when I'm drinking it. I'm not telling people that you shouldn't go out and drink this unless it's fucking absolutely terrible. This isn't absolutely terrible. It's a great beer. It's not one of the top beers I've ever had, but I mean, it smells good. It drinks good. It's piney, resiny. I enjoy it. Have one at a time. I don't even know what is their alcohol on this. 6.0. So, I'm not ordering a bunch of these at a bar.
All right, that's fair enough. So,
Yeah.
what do you got a rating for me, Mike?
Yeah, I do. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm gonna go 3.4.
Oh, damn it! I had 3.3.
So fucking close.
So
dude.
close. Ugh.
So close. You guys haven't gotten one in a while. Actually, it's just been you and I for a while. So
Yeah, well, some people, Nicky Winks is complaining about his electric bill, and Brian's out big time in somebody.
just to
then
be
I don't know
clear,
where
Brian
Tristan
is a
is.
banker, but he's not a rip you off type of a banker. That's not what his business is.
Did Tristan get deported? Is he one of those?
Yeah. So Tristan is a 6'3", blonde hair, blue eyed white man. I don't think he's being deported anytime soon. Not by this administration, at least.
Fair. You know what? That's probably the truest thing. Just checking. Can't be too careful.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say I did have a conversation just yesterday, I think, about how if you take 10 dudes from South Boston, they could probably go and conquer the UK.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah, of course.
Sorry, it's just it's a conversation I've had a couple of times, just because, and I didn't know this because I don't really follow the Olympics all that much or anything, but I was getting an education just recently about how I think it was in France. They were apparently telling American tourists to stop beating up the pickpockets. Because I guess it's just okay. Somebody's stealing my wallet. Woe is me. But when you do it to an American tourist, they tend to fight back.
Yeah, what the thing about Americans is that these Americans that I understand the fighting back.
That's my purse. I don't know you.
Yeah, we do have, and you see sometimes on some of the social media shit that we do have a little bit of a sense of entitlement when we go places. Not me. I have a fear of language barriers, so Europe has never been a place where I've ever been. It's a ridiculous fear of language barriers, but and it's born of the fact that I think that they're all making fun of me, which they probably are. I would make fun of me. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I make fun of myself on a daily basis, Steve.
That is 100% relatable. I mean, look at me. This is not somebody that doesn't get made fun of.
Look, dude, I gotta tell you, on camera, you look about 94 pounds soaking wet. Dude, this guys and gals and everybody in between, listen, in person, this dude is fucking ripped. He's ripped. He's torn up. He works out. He runs. He does all this shit. He's got scary tattoos of orca whales.
It's true.
And he's got a giant cock and ball on his leg. Like you gotta watch out for that guy. Steve is dangerous. Sometimes he styles his hair into a mohawk. You really have to watch out. You really have to.
I did see a kid today at Isaac's soccer practice that was rocking the blue swirl away kit from Tottenham Hotspur, and I gave him a nice little, what's up, head nod.
There you go. Because when you see one in the wild, you have to give him a head nod, and you can point to your leg.
And
Be
that
like,
kid
"I'm with
probably
you."
went, stranger danger.
Yeah. See this tattoo? You want to come into my van?
I don't have a van, nor would I ever ask anybody to come into said van. But I think we're getting off topic now.
What? Yeah.
That was big head, big tree head, big something or other.
Big Tree, local legend.
Big
Vermont
Tree
Hazy
Local
IPA.
3.3.
3.4, actually, I said.
Damn it. I thought I could
You can't
get
trick
it
me,
then.
Steve.
I said it was a 3.3, but you
Listen,
are the
you
one
can't
who's actually
fucking
making the
trick me.
decision. Let's, you know what, we've talked about it a few times. I want to look ahead now, and I've talked more about the upcoming matches, so I want your views, Mike. We've got 2 more matches coming up. I believe Doncaster's coming up, and then we've got Wolves, the worst team in the league right now. What are your thoughts, Mike? Tell me how you feel about this.
So, all right. I can't make predictions anymore. I said we would probably beat Brighton. I was wrong. We did not beat Brighton. But like, okay, if we're not beating Wolves are definitely getting relegated. I don't give a fuck. Wolves are definitely getting relegated. At this point, Aston Villa is getting relegated.
Hey, they scored a goal at least for the first time this season after 5 games.
And guess what? You know what? Because I didn't get Watkins, I won the Fuckwits Sunday the Sunday doubleheader contest on DraftKings. So because I did not pick Ollie Watkins, I did not fall for that fucking trap. But we do have Wolves coming up, so there's a few things like so. Spurs, I think are overperforming, like we talked about. They're overperforming what they did last year. I think that it's part because our defense is more compact. I think and organized. We're obviously playing with some of the same players we played with last year, but I think we're just more organized. I think that Christian Romero did have a couple of little spaces where he was a little bit old school Romero in that Brighton game, and he did it in Villarreal too, where he got in people's faces. But you know what? I love a little bit of that fight in my captain, right? As long as it's not leading to some kind of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
We've had pretty solid home form. We've kept a bunch of clean sheets this year. I still am still jury's out on whether Vicario is or is not the guy for me. I want Vicario to be a little bit less of the I'm the Tottenham Hotspur keeper and more of the hey, I'm the Tottenham Hotspur keeper that he was when he first came in. You know, remember how crazy he fucking was?
Yeah,
And it was like a
God,
fucking
the
circus
odds,
act
man.
every single time we went out and we weren't sure what was going to happen. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's smarter now, but I want a little bit of that craziness to come back. And look, we talked about Richarlison. He has been scoring, even though the goal that he scored was kind of an accident. He could have that ball fell right at his fucking feet. He could have put it any fucking where. He was right in front of the goal. Instead of doing that, he kicked it right into the fucking keeper. And somehow the ball went in. That said, like I think Richarlison and Bergvall are going to be big in this game. I think we're going to be able to give a lot of guys some rest. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see a Ben Davis because those
Big Daddy Davies.
those guys in the back need a rest, right? I think Udogie was one of our best players going forward, actually, in that game.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
He was good. He was really good. So, you know, I'd like to see Jed play a little bit on the right, give Pedro Porro a little bit of a break, maybe. We'll see. You know, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen. Wolves are in like a really terrible, rough spell. They can't seem to score. We're playing at home again. Like, I don't see a way forward for Wolves in this one. I appreciate their fans. I do. They have a lot of love for this club. Um, as do most fan bases. Um, they know what they are. You know, I think Tottenham is just too strong defensively for them. Um,
I'd agree.
and recently they found ways to kind of control the game, right? Control the ball, control possession. Um, I think we're going to see a lot of rotation in this game, and if it comes down to it, and we have to play some of the premier players, then we're going to play the premier players that need to play. Um, I just Wolves are not good, man. They're not good.
No.
Jose Sa was once one of the most sought after goalkeepers, right? We talked about possibly trying to pick him up years ago, right? When he was a young man, they just they don't have anybody that I'm looking at here that makes me nervous.
Nope. Not at all. Not anymore.
I just don't, and I don't see us conceding a goal. God damn it! I said I wasn't going to make predictions, but
Honestly though, this is even if we do concede a goal, I just don't see how Wolves can keep a clean sheet at the very least, right? Like I'm trying to see when was the last time they had a clean sheet.
oh, it's definitely
not this season.
Yeah,
Nope.
yeah. I don't see like our midfield being outplayed in this game. Like,
Nope.
no matter what combination we put out there, I think Pape Sarr's got to come back, right?
Yeah, certainly, and he's been great too.
No matter what combination we put out there for midfielders, we're not getting João Gomez and what's the other guy? Same name as Bruins, Krejci. These guys are not like household names that you're going to hear on soccer teams, coming out of the Premier League. Even
They got Matt Doherty.
They do have Doherty. I can't give anything to Wolves. I appreciate what they bring, what their fan base brings. They got cool uniforms. They have probably the coolest logo in the Premier League, I'd say.
It is a cool logo.
That's cool. It's a weird color. It's a weird color of like yellowy orange, but it's cool. I don't know what else to say about Wolves. They don't have anything. They don't have anything that makes me nervous, other than the fact that Spurs.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And then Doncaster. That'll be a fun game to watch, right? It'll just be a fun game
Neil
to watch.
Sullivan with Doncaster made the comment that he thinks the players are going to like going to Spurs because apparently he was in a Legends match against Inter Milan and got to use the home dressing room and said it was like a spa. So the players are at least looking forward to checking out the amenities of the stadium. So it's always funny to me when you get some of these lower league teams that get to go to a truly world-class stadium like Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and make use of the amenities. And it's like, it's got to feel like, even if they lose, it's like, well, at least I got to stay in a 5-star resort while I did it, Can't really complain.
Hey, maybe those Doncaster players will have a chance to ride the fucking go-karts.
Maybe.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, when we finally take our Wicked Spursy trip and go, that's one of the things we're booking.
Absolutely.
We'll like beers, fucking castles, go-karts.
You can't go wrong.
I don't think you can. I think you're correct.
Yeah.
Maybe a stop at the Beehive, like, again, beers, right?
Absolutely. But we are getting to time here, so let's move on to our closing thoughts for today. Mike, you got any closing thoughts you'd like to share with us?
My guy, I think that Vermont Vermont has found its way in this world of soccer. It's pretty fucking amazing. I don't know how to promote ourselves like as Wicked Spursy and compare us to Vermont, but like I don't think that you should discount this podcast because we're Vermonters or
Yeah,
because
you
we're
discount it
Americans.
because we're both morons, right?
I think right now Vermont / New England is the center of the soccer world in the US. Um
Thank you, Green.
it's looking like those season tickets that just went on sale for previous season ticket holders um are going to be sold out um already. They may offer another 100 or 200 season tickets um going forward. So Vermont Green are looking good. They have made it to the knockout rounds, not the knockout rounds, but they have made it into the US Open Cup as the national champions. I guess it's knockout rounds. They
They're all
win.
knockout rounds, but
They
yeah.
win they win two match. They don't have to qualify. There's no qualifying rounds for them. They're going to be probably playing against Portland Hearts of Pine. That's my guess. I think that Portland Hearts of Pine right now have come out of nowhere and are just dominating USL League One. You have USL Championship being dominated like right now by the hottest team, inexplicably the hottest team in the league, in the Hartford Athletic. Rhode Island is still struggling. The championship runners up last year, they're still struggling this year to replicate what they did last year. They're not scoring a lot of goals, but I think soccer in New England is huge. The University of Vermont, again, the national champions in the NCAA, are flying. They just went down 2-0 to Fairfield the other day. Fairfield College the other day, and ended up winning 4-0. They scored 4 goals in like 12 minutes in the second half. So the Catamounts are doing great. The Lady Catamounts are doing great. We're gonna have an announcement soon about the Vermont Green women's team. There's just a lot going on in New England soccer. So like I wouldn't discount this podcast. I wouldn't discount soccer in America, despite the MLS just sucking ass in Miami, Inter Miami being probably one of the most hateable teams on the fucking planet right now. But I mean, don't discount soccer in the U.S. just because it is the U.S. For any of our European listeners or South American listeners, give us a chance, man. Take a look at what Vermont Green brings. Take a look at what the University of Vermont brings. Take a look at Portland and Hartford and Rhode Island. They're my USL team, Rhode Island. It's just really exciting right now, and I really think that everybody should just stop, pause for a moment, and take a look at the state of soccer in the U.S. and in New England.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. I gotta, again, give that shout out to the Vermont Green myself. It's a fabulous organization. The one additional caveat that I'd love to add when it comes to the season tickets is they've capped season tickets for repeat buyers, so you could only buy what you previously bought. So it's not like, if I had one, I can't go out and buy 4 or 5 of them. I'm capped to just the one. So even then, they're still selling out, which means that people who were season ticket holders really want to continue to be present and to be there. It's a great community, great organization, and it's just a lot of fun. It's different than watching Premier League. It's different than watching hell, even MLS. But I don't know. It's just that much more enjoyable. I do think that for those of you who maybe have that local club that isn't a big name. They're not, Tottenham Hotspur in London. You probably understand, right? The joy of going to a small field, the joy of the, kind of antiquated entrance, where okay, well, if we redid this, we could fit more people and we could do X, Y, and Z to modernize. I'm thinking of like Luton Town, right, when they were in the Premier League, and what a difference that was. Um, but it is a joy, and I feel very I don't know, very blessed to be able to experience a big community like Vermont Green, the fans, the players, the coaches, everything about it has been fantastic. In addition to Vermont Green, um, yeah, I don't really have much else to add. I will reiterate again, um, just to keep it fresh and to keep it in everybody's mind, that we do want to allow people to just exist, right? I think all of us, we don't really buy into the hate, the inflammatory comments. We're not two people, and Mike, I'm speaking for you as well. We're not people who really want to push any narratives. We don't want to, you know, try to badmouth anybody because of the things that they believe, whatnot. It's live and let live. Let's just be kind. Let's be nice. Let's do the right thing, um, and just make sure that it's the right thing for keeping the community safe, keeping ourselves safe and happy and healthy. And if you do find yourself, again, I'm going to reiterate from last week, if you find yourself paying a lot of attention to people spewing this division and this hatred, and even look, honestly, even if you agree with it to some, I don't know why the fuck you're listening to us if you agree with it, to be honest, but if you do find yourself like, yeah, I agree with this hate speech, don't just stop putting the spotlight on it. I One of the things that I saw this week that really stuck out to me, our Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is going through, kind of MAGA country, talking to people, and this woman in one clip made this comment about how, oh, well, I thought you were going to be, kind of this crazy person, but you come here and you speak to us very reasonably and calmly, and a lot of what you say makes sense, and it's weird because that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be very contentious and to be very divisive, but that's not what I got. And so to me, that just reiterates, right? If you take the spotlight off of the hate speak and you just listen to each other and you just focus on trying to get the best out of the community, that's where we get happiness. That's where we get a much better way of life, in my mind. So second week in a row, I want to reiterate, spread kindness, ignore the hatred, and let's just try to in each of our individual communities, let's try to have the best possible space for ourselves, our kids, our neighbors' kids, and aim for the best that we can be.
You know what? And to kind of echo what you're saying, um, as someone who is kind of deeply involved with some of the politics that Bernie does through my labor union, being a leader of my labor union, and having been invited to speak uh, and actually introduce the senator, kind of open for the senator. Like Bernie is exactly what he puts out there. Like he's not a different guy. He lives in a regular neighborhood. His like net worth is somewhere in like, it's probably the hundreds of thousands, but like it's not like he's a billionaire. He practices what he preaches. He drives a little tiny hybrid car. He shops at the same shopping centers. He like Bernie is the genuine article. And the fact that he's 80 years old and still doing what he's doing and touring the country, and and is able to talk to people in a way that maybe some others haven't been able to in these red states, well, technically red states. Um, it's pretty amazing, and it's just kind of sad that he was kind of pushed aside as like this fringe kind of weirdo, right?
Yeah, and
Because
look, we're
he's a
not saying
great
you have to
he
agree
is a
with
great
him,
person.
right? We're not
Right.
saying that you have to buy into every single policy, every
Yeah.
single ideology. But because to me, what's nice about him is he's willing to kind of talk and work with people as long as they're willing to be, reasonable. And I do think that in this country we have a lot of room for different ideas and to challenge each other. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think challenging each other is how we get to a better place, right? But we need people to be willing to bend a little bit and not just do their thing. But yeah, I think let's leave it on that note, Mike. What do
All
you
right.
think?
Yeah. So we are the I almost said United in Green. We are the Wicked Spursy podcast. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms, including including Podbean, Apple. You can find us on Spotify, and yes, the music is playing. They're gonna play me off. But you can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms, and you can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram. We'll be posting some stuff there. So I just want to, ask Steve, like, if you were signing off and you had some things to say to people, before we leave, what are you going to say?
Coys, 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 coys.
And
Don't be an asshole. And
just don't.
Mike, what would you like to finish off our conversation with?
Listen, guys, I just want everybody to go out there, tread lightly, be safe, protect your mental health, and for God's sakes, just talk to your neighbors.
And
Oh yeah, Tottenham Hotspur action. It's Frank-tastic.